want to start?
All right. I guess we can pull up the GitHub for it and throwing it in an IDE.
Okay.
And just talk against that and open up, I guess, the 001 initial branch.
Okay. So just want to go into GitHub.
You can go into GitHub, or we can go into.
I did check the code out as well. So
yeah,
I checked out. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is just a repository I threw together yesterday, and it has pretty much 3 stages. The initial one is just Visual Studio New, and created a project with authentication, and I think that's it. So it uses database authentication, and it uses React, just base React.
Okay.
So, and that's pretty much what it is. I don't think it's anything special outside of that.
Okay.
And then the other ones, it goes through. If you scroll down to the README, it explains like the details about each one.
Okay.
And so just like how to use them, and like you still have to do the EF database update. You run that and such. The other 2 branches show setting up Docker, so just the Docker file.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one sets up Docker Compose, how to start up the database, and then running database migrations and stuff like that, or updates and stuff. So if we want to, we can probably just jump straight to the initial Docker setup in Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code, doesn't matter which, and then just talk against that.
Yep.
But you also can look at the history and see the file. You should be able to see the history between the 2 if we ever look at it.
Okay. So let's open it up in here. So anyone watching, if it's too quiet, just keep letting me know. I'd rather keep adjusting it and messing around with that than I would worry about nothing being heard and people sat there struggling.
Yep. So mostly it's going to be talking about how to set up a Docker file, and then how to set up the Docker Compose. We can go into the other stuff like the app settings and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then like how they connect the 2 containers behind the scenes. So if we open up,
so I want to check out the different branch, right?
Yep. So because this one is the one after it's all completed. So that's what the 000 is. It's all done and it's converted.
Yeah. It's trying to do its thing already. That's the problem. Okay, so remotes. Okay, so check out that branch. Okay, we're now on that branch.
Which one? Initial. Yep. So the initial is just a straight up application. You should be able to just. Do you have a? Actually, open up app settings. I can't remember what the settings were for this. I think it's just the local, isn't it? So look for it at localhost.
Yep.
Yeah. So that would just be a local database for MS SQL local database, and then that. Yeah. So that if you just started that up, it would just use.
That might not be there. I don't think I aliased it at all, but we'll see. So I should be able to run this.
You should, if SQL is all up and running. You'll have to run the .NET EF database update to get the database all square.
Gotcha.
You can do that however you want. And then .NET run from command line or just Visual Studio.
Yeah. Okay. So .NET EF database update, is that one?
.NET EF database update.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That one. And then that will just connect to it and run
Can execute because this specified command was not found.
Yeah, you might have to install it as a global tool. I probably had it that. You can also, if we wanted to take the extra step, install the EF tool right into the repository. But
thought I'd done this before. Oh, .NET 5.
Oh yeah, this is which .NET are you using?
I installed .NET 5 the other day.
You have .NET 3 on there? Just .NET new global JSON.
Yeah. So it's just a global JSON in the base, right?
Yep.
I'm not used to doing this one.
just global.
Really?
Not globals.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
You could also nude up one from the command line.
Command line. Okay, so what's the actual thing here?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll go search for it.
To go look for
This is something you just don't do very often.
Or never do. You only have one SDK on your machine, and then
SDK version. Okay, so there you go. So we need 3.1.
Yeah, the exact SDK version. 402. Yeah.
If I look away from my keyboard, that's why I start typing random characters. I'm okay once I'm sat over the keyboard, but if I look away, I just move my hands enough and I just start hitting every other key but the one I intend to.
Oh, you drift too?
Yeah. Well. Okay. So that's okay there, right? That works there?
That should. Now you should be able to run the EF, I think. I think it'll work there. We might have to move it up to the solution, I think. Oh, wait, never mind. The solution and the project are in the same one. All right, so now it's probably complaining about the tools.
Execute. The specified command was not found.
Yeah, it probably should have worked with EF5, so...
Yeah.
Or .NET 5, so...
.NET
yeah,
EF
I think it just needs the global tool. All right, well, we need to get it installed anyway, so that's fun. Let me see.
Well, I suppose I haven't run this on this machine, have I?
Probably not.
I redid the machine, didn't I? So yeah. .NET tool install global --.NET EF. Okay, so that's that. Don't know why that wouldn't have got that small, but so we're going to do .NET tool install --global .NET EF.
That's going to install 5.0, isn't it? No,
nope.
No, that's right, because the global JSON will pick that up. And...
So .NET EF database update. So I can help you.
Maybe we'll also do a tool stream someday too. Because they're a lot simpler than you just make a console application and then just read the arguments.
Yeah. Okay,
it's
so we should
pretty fun to make something like that. So so now if we just start up the application, so this uses the local one. So this has like no Docker, no nothing. It's just like vanilla.
Okay. Yes, I'll trust it. I can't get away from console. Is this because I've not done an npm install of some form, or?
Let's see. Oh, that's right. So I need to add some more steps. Yeah, because I kind of just skipped this step. It was like well, no, because the starting of the application should have installed.
Do I not have Node installed?
Yeah, you might want to check that. You might not have.
I bet you I don't.
Didn't I give you some prereqs yesterday?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah, you did give me prereqs, and I did install it.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, okay. So that's weird because it's if you jump back to the Visual Studio and then double click on the project, so it opens up the CS proj.
No, my order doesn't. I hate that.
Oh wait, you disabled that?
I disable it. Yeah.
I love editing it in the raw. So
I click it too often, and I'm like, stop opening the project file. And now I'm like, why can't you edit the project file? Edit project file. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
So if we look at that, so what it's supposed to do, if we go down a little bit, you see there's these target debug ensure node build.
Yeah.
That is supposed to install npm.
Yeah. Let's have a look.
And it did, or npm install.
Yeah.
And then if you publish it, it doesn't install and it doesn't run. As to why it didn't, I don't know. Yeah, we can just run it manually. So if you just go to the client app and hit npm install from command line.
Yep. He says, with me clicking everywhere but there.
I do like the different profiles it flips to when you're doing different stuff. I do like that feature of Visual Studio. But sometimes it gets confusing because if you forget that you're in debug mode.
Notice created a lock file as package. You should commit this file.
Yeah, because this is a fresh one and it doesn't have any of that stuff in it.
So why did the error? No such file directory.
Because you did it from the root and not from find
okay.
app.
Yeah, okay. So yeah. So I need to be in client app. Okay. I get you. npm install this client stuff.
Yeah, this is why I like to divorce them from each other, so I can do development in one and development in the other.
Yeah. With Blazor, I might not use it that much, but it has meant that I can avoid all this more than ever.
Now you see why I haven't touched it in like 8 months.
You can just ignore all this nonsense because people criticize .NET and then they make Node modules.
Yeah, and then
it's
they make a Node module that has one line in it, and
yeah. So
So this will take a little bit, but the big thing I was waiting for that I'm glad they added to Blazor is the ability to bundle all of your CSS and kind of pull that out and then componentize it. That was a big feature that now I don't have to worry about any command line tools because I don't need CSS anymore.
Yeah.
Or CSS compiling.
Right.
And then
is that fine?
Go to the bottom of it. Because the red is just telling you that it doesn't support that stuff, and that's normal. And if it says...
looks like it works.
Yep, that looks good. And now you should be able to start it, and it should work fine. Yeah, as to why the... Yeah, I wonder if it was the IIS Express. Well, no, because it would still run through the CS proj and trigger that build. So I don't know why it didn't npm install. This makes it a little easier in the next ones because then we don't have to worry about starting those up.
Yep. That was healthier. There we go.
And there's no default user, so you can just register. So if you just go up into the login at the top corner and
log in, register.
Yeah, log in, register. Any email's address is fine as long as it's valid. It ain't gonna leave this application. Oh, wait. Shut down the application. We need to go change one flag because I don't think I changed it in the base project.
Okay.
It requires you to have a validated email address. So open up startup.
Gotcha.
CS. The default configuration does that by default.
Right.
Which is ridiculous.
Okay.
And it's the 32 or something?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So require confirmed false.
Yes. And the other branches already have that updated. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So we should run that again.
And now it should work. Now you should be able to create your user and not worry about the not being able to log in.
Okay. So what is in the Docker stuff?
The Docker stuff, once we get to it, will have 3 stages, if I remember correctly. So let me bring it up on my own screen so I can look at it. So the Docker stuff will have a build stage for Node. So it'll actually build out the client application for you. It'll build the .NET application for you. So, and then it'll also pull in the Node stuff from that prior job or stage into this one. So it makes it so you don't have to have Node and .NET installed in the same image, which is horrible to set up. And then the last one is the runtime, where it just takes the DLL content of the publish and puts it in. So, and it's a very strict password. Yeah, secure passwords. There you go.
Don't mind me, I'm just having fun. Processing login. That's impressive.
Yep.
There you go.
So this one, I think what it did behind the scenes was it was all of the identity management stuff.
Okay.
So now we have an application that is
raid. Tail Learn Code. Thank you very much for the raid. Good evening.
Give them a minute to come in.
Yep. Hey, Magnodius. Welcome. How's things? I believe Tail was doing a .NET user group thing this evening. So how was that?
Cool.
Keep trying to remember to check my screen to see if the alert, my custom notification for live coders pops up.
Well, we can go on and see if anything comes out of it.
Yes. Yep. Okay. So where to next?
So I think that's pretty much it. We've shown that we can use a database. We have a client application and we have a .NET application. So we have like 3 layers.
Okay.
So now we can just kind of close that. And
so
I think we can move on to the next branch. So one thing that might clash is the database. It might clash with the server. So we'll have to watch out for that.
Right.
So we might just have to change the port on the Docker one. But
okay,
there we go. So I think just check out the 002. So we can look at that and how it changes from a base to a Docker.
Okay. Stash and continue.
Yeah. But it's going to do pretty much the same thing that happened.
Yeah.
You have a debug open.
Yeah. Yep. Let's do home changes. Do I want to keep the global JSON right now?
Yeah, you would. It should be on the ignore. So
right.
It should be.
Well, let's go and see if we can check that out and just. Actually, I want to just stash them or something.
Stash if you just stash them, you can just pull out the single file if you need it.
Stash isn't something I normally use, but yeah.
I use it a lot at work, but I don't use it a lot on my side projects.
Okay, so
commit branches. All right. Yep. So this one, I went through and I made the initial changes of splitting up the application, the client app, out of the CS Proj, just the slim portion of it. You still need the client app so it can SPA connect it to the .NET application, so it knows that it's a SPA application. But I removed all of the build stuff. So if we open up the CS Proj again, we'll see the changes. So what's nice is the client app actually hasn't changed at all between any of this. They'll all stay the same. It's just the .NET stuff we kind of just divorced.
This is a lot lighter.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense because now all it's really doing is just taking the SPA route, which is our client app, and then just putting it where it needs to go.
Okay.
So we removed the building and the npm stuff. So now this has you no longer need npm in your CI/CD to build and publish the application. You just need to make sure that the client app is built before.
Right.
Yep. So that's what makes this a little more flexible, in that I don't have to tie these two together.
Gotcha.
But the Docker file is what kind of ties them all together. So if I pop open the Docker file, we'll see that I named them stage 1, stage 2, and then there should be a stage 3. So the stage 1 actually builds the node. So it takes the node application, it does its normal node stuff. And
so this is an image. So this is an image alone that is this version. Okay.
And it's all by itself, and all it does is it runs the npm related stuff node, and it has no idea that it's a .NET application. It just knows that the client app is node based and that it needs to build it. So, and you can do any types of stuff you want in here as well. So if you want to do more, expand upon it, you can. But this is like just what the CS Proj would do, but in Docker form.
Right. So the moment you write from here, you're using that image. So this isn't building a container. This is building an image using these steps.
Yep, that is building an image. It's
Right.
a intermediate image, if I remember
Okay.
the correct term for it. So like
Right.
when you say Docker build this folder, it's going to take this Docker file, and the last from is the one that it's going to use for its image. So if
Okay.
we scroll to the bottom, it's actually from bottom up, and
Okay.
then everything that you want would work off that one.
Okay.
But you can also specify the as
Right.
so as runtime. Like if I only wanted to build the node build, I could specify that in the node.run command line command.
Right.
And then that would go through and just do the node build. And then I could spit that out and tag it and stuff. So you can
Okay.
also tag these specific ones for different images.
Gotcha.
But just doing the base one, we'll always use the last one in the list.
Okay.
And if we look at the stage 2 where it actually goes through and builds the .NET,
Right.
this is just like bare bones .NET. You could get a little more fancy with this, and if you have more projects and sources, you can set up your projects in a certain way that you can use different run commands, and then what those run commands will do is it'll zip up all the project files, and then you can transform those into locations. That's a little more advanced, but this one uh, just grabs the CS proj and puts it in the base source folder, so your working directory. Yeah. So do you want to do an anatomy of like all these commands and what they mean?
I want to what I want to do is kind of the stupid questions that come into my head to make sure I'm understanding.
All
right. So when we say an image, this is so from my experience so far, I create a container, and the container uses an image, and then I can I can bash into the image because it's actually a stripped down Linux version that's being hosted internally. So when we say from this image, what is this image? Is it a pre-prepared
yes, that is
entire
some
OS?
of the it is a entire OS. So if you actually keep going down, you'll get from scratch, which is, from what I understand, it's like just a base skeleton that Docker provides everyone, and I can't remember exactly which one it is.
Right.
But then you like layer on top of that. So you can think of every one of these statements, the from, the working DR, the copy, as a commit in Git, and then they overlay each other. So as you make changes as you go down, that creates a new Git commit. And that and there that's why you can base on that hash, it's a Git commit hash. So as you change, that hash changes, and that's how Docker knows that I can reuse this layer or I need to rebuild it. And that's how it can tell, because it does a file hash of all the stuff that's in it. So that's why when you work with higher up layers, so like the copy star CS proj, that you make that as slim as you can and something that never changes, so then you can get past that layer really quickly, and then I can do a restore. And if the CS proj doesn't change, the CS or the .NET restore won't change, and then you just cut out a whole bunch of IO from your build process. And that's where the power of Docker comes in, is that you can layer all of these, and then you can from somebody else's container, who probably froms somebody else's container, and then you can go through layers like that. And that's where the .NET SDK comes from, is that it is all of the .NET for 3.1. And this is the SDK, so it's like a gig and a half of all the stuff you would need to develop on .NET.
Right.
Which is great, because it gives you it gives you everything all bundled up, so you don't actually have to go out and do everything yourself. You don't have to go out and get all of the ASP.NET framework, which you could pull in just the core ASP.NET. But then once you went out and started trying to do the builds, you'd get huge build times because of all the stuff that would come with it, instead of just saying, give me the SDK. And that's why when you get like really large images and you see all those downloads coming through, those lines that says downloading and then extracting, that's all the layers that they have in their application.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
So just going through this, you can see that it does a .NET C proj, it grabs the restore.
And if anyone else in the chat has questions, feel free to ask, as always. Okay.
Yep. And so what's nice is the .NET command line team actually added a bunch of stuff to actually help with this as well. So you can see the -- no restore. That means it won't even check to see if it's been restored. It'll just try and build it.
Okay.
And so that helps with that. But you get the release version, so it builds it all and compiles it all and does all of its nice optimizations to it.
The one thing I got confused with, so when I first began trying to work with Docker, and you've pretty much seen all my experience with Docker on stream. The one thing that got confusing is, where am I when I'm doing something, right? So when we're doing .NET build here, we're building it on there, and we've copied everything from our machine to there, and then we're building that, or how is that working?
All right, so when you hit .NET build from the command line, it'll take everything you have in your directory minus all of your .NET ignore files,
right,
zip that up, and send it to a Docker container.
Okay.
That's technically not copied in yet. That is like I can't think of the word for it, but it's like a pre-init container. So you kind of have to go through and say, copy this file from there into here.
Right.
What the workspace workdir does is it says, inside my image that I'm building,
okay,
that's where I want my workspace to be. That's where, when I say copy commands, that's what I mean relative to. So
right,
/source on my image is where I'm putting everything.
okay.
And then copy is saying, from my zip file, grab anything that's csproj and put it into .hash, which would be /source. So put everything in there.
Okay.
And so that's there's like a waiting room of all of your files in a zip container that Docker can use and do whatever it wants with, and then you give it commands to say what to do with it.
Okay.
And then so you can think of this as just going through, and like if you were to do this by hand, you would copy your csproj into a new source location, run .NET restore, then it would build like your bin in your object folder. So you just get those with just a csproj in it, and that's perfectly valid and it works.
Yeah.
And then you go through and say copy ... So everything in my zip file, throw it into my current working directory.
Right.
And then it overlays that. So if the csproj for some reason, as part of your prior step, changed, what it would do is it would re-override it within your one from your zip file. So you would lose any changes. So that's like you have to watch out for stuff when you're moving like full directories, because you could purge everything.
Yeah.
And then you do your .NET build. It runs all of the build related stuff, generates the release output for the object or the bin file or bin folder, and all that. And then now the one of the great features that I think they added around 12 of Docker is the 30. So I'm copying from a other stage. So if I tried to just build .NET build, it would actually also build the dependency of it, because it can pre-read this and know that I have a dependency on a from.
Okay.
So this is saying, there's a specific folder inside my source. So inside my from node, my /source /client app /build, I want you to put that onto this image's source client app build. So it takes all the content generated from that other image and puts it into this image.
So you don't have to have any of the node pieces on here at all. You're just copying from there, which is separately built.
Yep. And you can, and if I remember correctly, I actually haven't never done this, is you can do from any image that's up in a repository. Registry. So I could grab from like the Nginx and grab a configuration out of their like Nginx image, because then it'll pull down that image and then I can pull files out of that. So you can save files inside an image, put it up in a repository, a registry, and then pull those down from anywhere in the world. So that's what's really powerful about that from command.
Okay. Hi, Curious Drive. Welcome.
And so that's like where now I can have something that's completely separate. I could have a PHP application. I could have a Node.js, a Rust, I can have all those different images in completely different build cycles and build processes. But in my Docker file, I can pull from those and grab all the files and put them into one. So that was
making it very composable.
Yes. Okay. So now if I wanted to, I could throw all my source of this into well, it's already in the Docker build. I could put that in a registry, and then I could have a bunch of different runtimes. So I could probably any type of Linux distro you might have, you could throw that into there as well. And yeah.
So doing it this way, right? I mean, obviously you've said some of these words to me, and you have to wait for them to click a little bit. But basically, if the reason this is helping me as a developer is I should be able to check out on any machine as long as I've got Docker installed. I don't need any of the npm components to.
Oh yeah. Using Visual Studio Code, you can use a lot of their tools, and as long as you have Docker installed, it can do this kind of process for you. So they have images and Docker composes for you that do all of this out of the box. This is kind of like base bones, what you would see out of the box for most simple projects.
Yeah. So I'm going to divert a 1 second because, again, something's just clicked, right?
Okay.
So I don't know if you've had a chance to use them yet, the Visual Studio Code spaces. Have you used these?
No, I don't have access, and I haven't been given access yet, but it sounds
awesome. So if I go to GitHub, TBD develop, actually developer stream is a perfect one. So in code spaces, you can just open, and what it does is it creates you a code space. And what it does is embeds Visual Studio Code in your browser, right? You'll see it start up. But now talking about the containers and stuff, now it dawns on me how it's possible that I can run .NET code in here, and I can run Node stuff in here, and I can run Docker I can actually start containers from within here. Because, yeah.
Yep. So this is code spaces, but I have used the
Visual Studio
Docker, Visual Studio Dev Tools, and connected it to my off my machine Docker, and it works really well. I was surprised at how well it worked.
Yeah. So I've been using this to do the blog stuff. So rather than actually downloading it on my machine, I've actually been doing this. So when something there you said clicked, and I was like, that's how that's actually able to do all that cool stuff.
Right.
Because it's able to use these technologies in this way.
Yeah, and this is just the build process. We haven't even got to the Docker Compose.
Well, but that's kind of the benefit of doing this, right? I can, the aha moment. I get it. So yeah, this is the stuff I've been using to manage the developers stream and my blog, rather than actually downloading it to a machine, because then I can work on it from anywhere. But these are the GitHub code spaces. This is the new thing that they're slowly rolling out. It's going to cost money eventually. And there will be a free tier.
They're not using a bunch of non-breaking spaces. You can use HTML in that as well.
Yeah, I need to this was to get it working, and I'm now I've got a few people that have actually signed up to do this. Then I can start worrying about the design a bit more. But
because it's Jekyll is behind the scenes is what it's using to build it.
Yeah, with the blog I use Jekyll, so I use the actual fact that I can create articles and do it that way. So rather than dumping everything in here, but
But I mean, what I'm getting is the Jekyll. It's not just Markdown; it's also Markdown and HTML. So you can just throw in a span tag and throw some style on it.
Well, now enough people have given me some different levels of information. I can work on a standard format there. But anyway, I just wanted to show that, because it all of a sudden dawned on me that that's the benefit of doing what we're talking about here.
And that it also persists your settings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was quite cool as well.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty much it. That's the Docker file. And then you can see in the stage 3, it's just grabbing everything from the publish from line 33. So you publish everything into a single directory, and then your runtime, which is I think it's 5 times smaller than the SDK, and then it throws it into a single image for you to use.
Now, this... Okay, output app.
Yep.
Now, does it match that part? Is that what that's doing? So that's creating a /app folder, and then I'm going into .NET Build. Why does that work? So I'm in source here.
Yep.
Why does that?
So you're in source. That's your working directory. So everything's relative. So if I use \, I'm actually at the root and no longer at /source.
Right.
So that's why /app/ puts it into the root of the whole application, and then that's why I can do it from the copy from there.
Yeah.
Yep. But you could form it any way you wanted. What's really nice is a lot of these commands automatically create the directory and all its parents for you. So that's also a bad thing, because if you fat finger something, it won't tell you that you put it in. It'll just create it for you and put it in there. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So my working directory, my new image is /app. Then from the /app folder on this image, take everything and dump it in my app folder, my working directory. Okay.
Yep. Okay. And then your working directory, the last working directory, because you can change it throughout your builds, is the one that everything will run from. So when you start this image up, this runtime image, it'll run from the context of /app.
Yeah.
So you can dump the user anywhere you want. That's going to use your image in their container when they start up anywhere you want. So when you remote in, it'll also drop you into the /app folder, so you know like where everything context from.
Gotcha.
Which is good for debugging purposes. And so these are just the blueprints for creating your containers.
Okay.
And if I remember, so this one is, this one's just Docker. It doesn't have a Docker Compose for it. So
now I want to do this one, don't I?
Either one is fine, because it's you'd still have to run the Docker from the image.
You can debug it from there as well, though,
so
right?
I need to update the READMEs on this, because this doesn't use Docker at all. It kind of just does the Docker setup.
Right.
Also,
because again, I suppose the benefit is if I'm running it like that, then again, I don't need. This will run. I've run it in debug, and I've debugged through here, through Docker. I know that.
Yeah, this won't debug any Docker related stuff. It's still working locally, and it's still using your local database. This Docker file is mainly for if you want to create images and then push them into a CI/CD using all the individual processes without using like Docker Compose.
But like if I check out this project and I don't have Node installed, that's a blocker if I want to use IS Express, because I need Node installed to do the npm install stuff, right?
Yep.
Well, I still need to do that step.
Together. You can't debug this locally, but you could create an image and then deploy it in your Docker and then kind of debug it through there, but it would always be in release mode. Yeah. So this is like release related stuff. Your development would still be local based.
Okay. So I'd still always need npm. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, if we want to go through in a future stream, like how do you set this up for a full Docker development, that would be this is like baby steps. We need to work up to that.
Okay, I might be trying to run a little bit faster, but basically that's the benefit I can see is where you can do that so that a developer can check it out and just build and develop without having to, because the number of times, as a development team, we've tripped over, well, have you got this installed? Have you got that installed? Have you got this tool? Oh no, I've got this version. Is that version the right version? That screen when we first said it, and I said, we probably need to do an npm install. That comes from going through that process multiple times, right? It's like a pain. Yep. So okay.
Yep.
We won't try running just yet.
Yeah. So even if we do get this like fully Dockerized, the one thing is the local development still needs Node for the .NET Watch behind the scenes.
Okay.
Sorry, not .NET Watch. Docker. What am I looking for? The npm watch.
Yes.
So it does npm watch on your client apps, and so every time your application, it just like proxies it through there.
Right.
Okay. So the development is still heavily dependent on having Node and .NET installed locally. Okay. This divorces you from that for your CI/CD process. And if we wanted to take it a step forward, we could create a test project and then run that also inside the .NET build. And what's nice is the error codes get propagated up. So if our test failed, we would get logs spit out, and then it would also fail the build. So then we get all that out as well. So that comes with Docker in that.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much it for this stage. The next one is the Docker Compose. If we don't have any questions about here, I'm pretty sure the Docker file doesn't change. So
does anyone in chat have any questions or thoughts? Is everything making sense? Do you want us to go over anything again? Sorry to see how many people are paying attention. Well, you can't. The problem with chat is you can't guarantee that everyone's not on a 2-second or a 20-second latency. So you've got to give enough time to pause.
That's true. That's true. Well, I still your overlay still updates before I even get the chat message. So.
Nice. But I have noticed recently that if I've connected to Works VPN, it adds like a second every 5 minutes to this stream. So I end up with so I'm like, why are they not responding? Oh, I'm really far behind. and I refresh the stream.
Ancient Coder has a delay, but I can see their message in your overlay before I see it come through my chat.
Yep. Well, Twitch is distributing it all over the place, right? So yeah. As far as making sure your versions are the same, that's what package JSON is for. Okay. Right. Yeah. So the versions of all your this is the same as your project.
Yeah, just like the Docker file. It's making sure that you always build on the same version. You don't have to worry about what version it's on as well, which is great because you can have .NET 5 on your local machine, and you can still run and do everything with .NET 3.1, but your build can be 3.1.
Right. Yeah. The question, Junicus, was: does anybody have any questions on what we've done, or thoughts, or does anyone want to recover anything? Are we good to proceed?
Yeah.
That was the question.
It was a question.
Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to close that down again. We can always go back over stuff. Okay.
Yep, because it's all up in GitHub, so
yes,
publish that at the beginning. You can publish
it.
I'll
make sure to
at the end.
Okay, so now we can open that again. I don't know why I just did it that way, but whatever. I like my mouse. Okay, Dota. No worries. Okay. So it's gone immediately into the Docker file because I was in that file last. Yeah.
Your .vs folder was not purged. So yep. So I think the only new file here is the Docker Compose, and I've updated a variety of different locations. And I think actually the only location that's updated is the app settings. So if we open up this, we'll see we have. If we open up the Docker Compose.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm jumping back and forth. Yep.
So we'll see that there's 3 services in here. There's a web, run migrations, and database.
Okay.
And I'm not sure of the run migrations. I think I forgot to delete that. So we can ignore that. We only have 2 services in here.
Okay.
Web and database.
Right.
So the database one is nice because you can just run Docker Compose up database, and it'll up the database for you.
Right.
And that sets up the database, and I'm wondering, there should be a -d in there. So I'll update the docs and up this. Okay. I've been keeping the notes of stuff I need to update. But Docker Compose up -d database.
Yeah.
Start up the database with these configuration settings.
Okay.
So what's nice about this is if you restart your machine, but you don't have like on restart only for the database, and then you're like Docker Compose up web, it'll start up the web application.
Right.
And then it will also start up the database because there depends on.
So
it'll find that it already exists, and then it'll start it up. So you don't have to recreate it and stuff like that. So it keeps that stuff up and running. The only thing you might run into is it might not have a database connection right away because the database is a little slow, especially if it has to start up from scratch.
Yeah.
But you still need to run externally to that the database .NET EF database update. And I think that's where I was going with the run migrations, where it would run a command and then it would run the .NET EF database update. But then I found that you would have to install the tools. So I didn't go through that spot.
Right.
I might enhance upon that as part of this, because it would show that you can run arbitrary commands that are just like one-off. It just
Right.
runs the migrations against your database, and then it works.
Right.
And I think that would actually work. We would just have to add a command to the run migration step, and it
Okay.
just tells it what to do. But the problem is I don't think it has the EF tools installed, so it'd probably be 2 commands.
So would you then change your Docker file to install it on this image? Is that what you do?
Yeah.
You'd run .NET EF install or .NET tools install, whatever?
No, I would just do it as part of my command I would inject in the Docker Compose.
Okay.
So Docker Compose has this ability to override like the entry point or the command.
Right.
And so instead of just starting up a .NET application, you could say, run these commands or run this shell script, stuff like that. And you can inject the shell script in and stuff like that. So there's a lot of flexibility in just like the Docker Compose. So you don't have to like use the image as what it was intended for. You could inject your own DLLs, your own application. So you could give it, you could say, use the base runtime for .NET 3.1, inject the whole app settings from your local machine. And then as you make changes to that, and if you're using like .NET Watch inside the container, it would just automatically restart. So that would be like the advanced stuff where we would just have a container that's .NET Watch, and every time it changes, it just rebuilds itself. And so that would be like the next step you would take this if you want to use this for development, and then have all of those development features.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, so I think we can just jump to the command line and probably install SQL Server. And I think we can just do Docker Compose. I can't remember if it's -d up or up -d.
Up -d.
Yeah. And then
so that's daemon or however you pronounce it, right? The -d.
Yep. Yeah. And then otherwise it's interactive, and then if you close it, it shuts it down. We want to keep it up.
Yeah.
And so this will start it up, and then we can jump into the logs for it.
Docker Compose creating network with the default driver. Okay. So that's pulling from SQL Server. You're installing SQL Server 2017 as an image. So this shouldn't interfere with what I've got. That's the kind of the idea, right? So what we got right now is the bot running.
It might, because it probably won't be able to latch onto the port.
I'm not running a SQL Server on here.
On your local machine?
Yeah, I'm not running. Oh, I'm running. Oh, yeah, true. You got it in 1433. Yeah, true. Let's go back in there. Okay. So did that completely fail, or did that? What did that do? Creating Docker. It just gave up there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it might have been the port it didn't like.
Okay. So how do you recover from that? Because obviously, right now I've got I run that, but I know to do this, and it's not. Oh no, it's there. It's there.
Yep. And so now you can just. Yeah, and so you won't get any like details from the command line, like if it fully started up or it was correct. So we can do a Docker logs and just grab the name or the container ID.
Okay.
Yep, and then it looks like it's fine.
Interesting. It should conflict with what I've got there, right? Because I've got SQL Server installed locally. Yeah,
the ports should have conflicted. So, do the Docker PS again, and let's see if it did assign it the correct port.
Yeah, put it on 1433, which is your default SQL Server port.
Yep. So it's either you're gonna have to. Well, okay. So if you try to do localhost, it'll probably latch on to your Docker one.
Right.
Or not your non-Docker one, your installed locally. If you try using docker.localhost,
right,
it probably latch onto that one. A .NET EF database update from the command line. Right from this folder is fine. What's nice about Docker is that even you could have not exposed the port, and then the two images would have connected to each other still.
Yeah, login fail for SA. Great connection. Yeah, I think that would be the port. Login failed.
Yeah, so the login failed for it.
Yeah. So go to my app settings, database, localhost. Because that's the
so if you change localhost to docker.local.
Right. So this is the production version which it would deploy. And it's using database, so internally they're on the same network, correct?
Yep. So
right. So that
okay. So if we want to just let's see, can we skip that? Well, we need to get the database updated, so this is kind of a out of process thing that we need to do.
Yeah.
Yep, and the Docker environment, as Junica stated, is right. It's the Docker world is 1433, which is correct.
So we change this
exposing
number.
it. Yeah, if we change that number.
Right. I need to bring it down though first, right?
Yeah. Yep. So if you just go back and Docker compose down, that should bring it down.
Compose down. Sorry. I just realized this text at the bottom is going to be really tiny, but up here is going to be massive. So down, and then I do the
just
container
down
ID.
Is fine.
Well, I don't want to bring the bot down.
No, Docker.
It'll do whatever compose. Right. Okay. Yeah. True.
Yep.
Yep.
Only whatever composes in that folder.
Good point. Yeah. Okay. So there's the bot still up and running. That's fine. So now that's gone. Okay. Yep. So now
now if we change the port and update it.
Why are these the same window size? Why isn't this independent?
I don't know. Visual Studio Code does the same thing.
Oh, frustrating. So you can have it in super chunky and readable or unreadable, and So we can make this anything, right?
We should be able to expose it on any port. So 1733.
True, I should probably go high, right?
Yeah.
5433 outside is a common port use for this.
All right, whatever.
Okay.
Exposing it on your port forwarded network to the world. So now I know what ports to use for SQL.
Okay.
So, and then all we would have to do is just update our app settings.
Okay, so we go to app settings.
Yeah, and this is really just so we can run the .NET EF database update.
Right.
Once we get this in a container, you could completely remove the exposing of the port, and then your database would not be accessible outside of your Docker host, and it would only be stuff in the same Docker compose / Docker network, which is really nice.
Okay. Yeah. If anyone needs to see this larger, let me know. We'll adapt it. But for right now, I'll do the zoom in on each one. We obviously don't work down here too often. So from when I bring up the Docker container to the system, it is local. It resolves as localhost, right? And then it looks for that port, so it kind of does expose it. So that's why that's
a little bit of Docker Windows magic.
Yes. Yeah.
You could point it directly at, like, I think it's, what is it, 127.0.0.1?
The loopback, or
still localhost.
Okay.
What is it? 172.0 or .1.1.1? I can't remember. They put it on like a 170 or something. 17 host.
Gotcha.
But I think it's like there's like 3, and I think you can talk to specific networks on the Docker as well. No, Yep. So Junica stated that it was the base app settings is
development.
Yeah. So the development and the app settings are fine. The production one is what we inject into the Docker container during Docker Compose.
Yeah.
Don't touch that one because that one will talk to it behind the scenes on its internal network.
Yes.
And so that will always be 1443.
Yeah.
Or
this is just so we can update the database on the Docker container once we brought it up.
Yeah. Right. So this is so we can update it from our host machine into Docker. Yeah.
Okay. So now I want to do. Sorry, go ahead.
You just do Docker Compose up for the database.
Like that.
Docker D. Yep.
Okay.
Base. Yep. Correct.
That's quick.
Yeah, because it was already there and everything. It just had to rebuild.
Oh, because the image was already there. It just built a new container off the image. Right?
Yep.
Is that the right word?
And that's like quick. It's just like not. I don't even think it's like copying a file. I think it's like just pointing it at a base image.
Yeah.
And then as stuff changes, it kind of just overlays changes on top of the image container. So yeah. So now if we run this, it should work because it'll use
5433.
It should use the development one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like it's going.
Well, it's built it. It succeeded building. It doesn't. Yeah.
And then we could always look at it through the
different error. Network path was not found.
Yeah, and this is where I really don't like. I don't think that MS SQL likes being on anything exposed other than the default port.
We have done this before though, because we did it originally with Pet Home. We did get it working.
See if you can connect through it through the database connection stuff. I can't remember what it's called in Visual Studio, but yeah.
Well, I always use Management Studio in here. I never use database tools in Visual Studio.
I used to. They worked fine for just like checking stuff, but when you want to actually do something, so
it should be that, right? Is it? No, it's comma, isn't it? That's the problem. It's not. Yeah. It's not semicolon. It's comma or something like that.
Is that what our problem is in the
configuration
settings?
I think it's comma. I think the problem is the way I've done it. It's not a regular port. Yeah.
I don't really change the port, so that's why I don't
different ports.
Yeah, so that might be the problem because I don't think I've ever.
Yeah, it's different syntax or something. Yeah. Okay, so let's give that another go. Hey, Viable. Good evening. Welcome.
Nice. Emote is that? Popcorn. Is that a global one? Does everyone have that? It's not like a hype emote?
Yeah, there you go. See. Yeah, Twitch Global, yeah. Yeah, there we go. So that worked. So so if we go to localhost, 5433 here. Oh, well, we still need authentication and SA and super secure password.
It is, isn't it? It's the default one they give in their their template. So I hope people change it.
Yeah, don't actually use this. Yeah,
and there you go. That's on Docker too. So
yeah,
you can just delete it and it's gone forever. So and it should have all the files. And now you can run IIS Express or whatever you want on it, and that should work.
Right. Yes, now I can actually develop against it and use that,
Yeah, and then if you just need a fresh one, you just bring it down and bring it back up. So,
Okay.
So that was pretty much the setup outside of the container. Now we can do Docker Compose up -- build web.
Docker Compose.
And what that will do is it will actually build the image if it doesn't exist.
Right. So this is a syntax I've been kind of getting used to with the bot. Right. Yep. So -- build web, right? Because we call that that's web, right?
Yep. and we call it by the service name.
Yeah.
And it uses production, and this will expose it on.
If I don't do the next thing, actually it's no start. It will actually start. Otherwise, it'll start it up, right? Or does the build end?
Nope. So this one will start it up, and it'll do it in interactive mode,
right?
So you can see the logs.
Yeah, so I can do that if I want to.
Yep. If you want to do -D, then it'll just create it. But the -- build is if I don't have an image for this already, build one.
Yeah.
But if you don't include the build after this, it won't rebuild it if you make changes locally.
Right.
So it only builds it once without the -- build.
Right.
With the -- build, it'll make sure it and build it if it needs to every time.
Yeah.
So if you run it, you'll see that it runs through a Docker file build. Yes, it forces a rebuild. That's what I was looking for.
Yes. Okay.
And this builds it specific for the Docker Compose. So if you move this to like a different, like this Docker Compose file to a different folder, it should create a new build specifically for that folder.
Gotcha.
So so that's what's nice about this is it's like we don't have to build the image beforehand. The Docker Compose makes sure it has an image for its specific self.
Right.
And so the first build will always be the longest, and it'll also be like 3 times as long because you have to build the node stuff, which is why I really like Blazor, because it decreases my build times by like 100.
Yep.
But I do like the what's it called? Create React app, because it seems they optimized it quite a bit from what it used to be.
Okay. Wow, another raid. I'll give him a minute.
Do you have Docker in your title?
Yes. Learning more about Docker with CAnhorn. Evening, nice. Ted. Welcome. He might pop up a lot worse. I remember to look.
Nice.
How's things? Hope you had a good stream. Hello, Raiders. Welcome. Nice. Okay, so now this is asking me for access to files because it's trying to touch the local versions of those files, right? So I'll share that.
Yeah, so I guess we can talk to this while it was starting up if we really wanted to. Well, there we go. So your PowerShell is showing some awesome line spaces and stuff. But
yeah, that could be interesting.
So what this did is it built the web, made sure the database was up, which it already was.
Right.
Exposed on port 8080 and forwarded it to 80 inside the image. Yep.
Okay.
But it exposed app settings production.json. And if we would open up that guy, you can see what he does.
Yeah. Thank you for the raid, Ted. Thank you for the follow, Dehua. We'll pronounce that way. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that one. And so we're working. I'm going through some. So Mr. Anhorn is walking me through some Docker stuff this evening, trying to get me more comfortable with what I'm seeing when I'm just jamming these things together, and learning more about what each piece is doing.
Yep.
So
if you remember, we can go into how it connects to containers now, because you can see that I just have database in here.
Yeah.
And that is actually a host file entry that points to our database service.
Okay.
And if we, in our Docker Compose, we see we have depends on. That tells Docker Compose that I need to link these containers together. So the web and the database.
Yeah.
And it's going to link them based on their name. The service name, there's like a long service name. There's also an IP specific for them. Or if you like assign a static IP on the network internally in Docker network, you get all that stuff when you put depends on. It links them all together.
Okay.
But what's nice is it links them on a short name, which is just their service name, which is database.
Right.
So it updates the etc hosts file inside the Docker image, and I'm pretty sure it updates the hosts file inside the Windows containers as well, just part of the feature of Docker.
Okay.
And it points it to the IP of database. So now we don't have to know what the IP is, or even if it changes. We just need to know that Docker will just handle updating that for us.
Okay. Thank you for the follow. J. Canal. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you for the follow.
The host file does not get updated automatically. If they're not depends on or linked, they won't get their host file updated. So if we didn't have depends on, it would just start up the web, but it wouldn't start up the database. And so the depends tells it to start up, but it also links them together.
Okay.
Yep. So one or the other. Yeah. If we put linked on there, it wouldn't wait for the database to start up or the service container to start up for it. It would just start them both up at the same time. Depends on just says wait for this one to like fully do its Docker created, and then runs it. What's nice is if you have like two servers, you have your API server and you have your web server. What you can do is you can also do a health check in the compose file. Okay. And then also when you do a depends, if you're waiting for your health check to come back successfully, the other container won't start up. So there's a health check where you can ping like a mi up on the image internally. So localhost mi up on their container. And then what it will do is it will say unhealthy until that comes back with a 200 or a 201. I think it's any 200 code.
Right.
Yep. And that's why it's really nice to use depends and health checks. I haven't quite figured out a health check for like a SQL database to see if it's all ready and up and running, because sometimes it can take like a second, but if it's already there, it's like instant. So but if you ever find like a way to do a health check on a database, like you can run SQL commands inside the database contain or image, so you could just put that on a loop and just keep hitting it too.
Right. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. So you can just keep pinging the 3306. But so that's pretty much how it connects those two together. It puts a host file entry IP database, and then that's what the app settings production does. It just says now you're connected to this database. So now if we open up localhost 8080, we can see the Docker web connecting to our database.
Okay.
And so it should be, yep. And what's nice about this is it's all connected on port 8080, but what you could do is you could front proxy this with a SSL server and then have it SSL terminate and then go to like 80 on the container. Right. And that's a very common pattern for like load balancing.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you don't need, so not all the way through SSL, just,
Yep. And your email and password from your other database should be fine. If I remember because we didn't rebuild the database. Yeah. At least I don't think we did. Yep.
Yep.
And I have a way to do edge termination locally, so you can have like a full SSL environment.
Right.
Oh, what's probably happening is because we're on localhost, you logged in on the other localhost, which was 5,000. You now have conflicting keys. What you want to do is open in private is the easiest way.
Okay.
Because your cookies are now on localhost and they're conflicting with each other from your your signed key from your local server and your Docker container, because it generates new keys for your authentication.
Okay.
And that's one thing you'll have to watch out for, because if you're working a lot on that, yes, they are. The localhost cookies conflict all the time. You'll find that that's going to be a constant problem you hit a lot when working with containers and localhost, which is also why you notice that I put a lot of host entries pointing to the Docker image on my local machine. It makes the cookie stuff like moot, because when you have localhost, it really doesn't know what to do with the cookies. But if you have like a domain name, it knows like, okay, this just completely just wiped the domain for it. Also, sometimes I don't want to wipe all my localhost domain or my domain information. But I'm fine with doing it to a specific domain. So that's something.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Let's see. Chrome needs 2 dots in the host name.
In Chrome, you can open
Oh, that's cool.
a.b.localhost.
You can do that. You can do that in Chrome. I might have to keep an idea on that. Huh.
I can do that. Or I didn't need the. Okay, it doesn't have an issue with that.
Oh, so that's cool. I'll have to look into that. Because now you see that your login is different, so you're no longer logged in because it's not picking up the localhost cookie. It's picking up a.b.localhost. Oh, that's cool. I never knew that. That's a nice feature for development.
There we go. Cookie rules change. Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a neat feature. I think that's pretty much it. That's the gist of pretty much Docker in a nutshell. That's the introductory 101 of Docker in a nutshell.
That's what I kind of needed. So what I'm going to take the chance to do now is kind of just review something, because now you're giving me some insight into how the things I've achieved through trial and error and fumbling through. Now some insight has helped me, gain some more questions about it. So if that's all right.
All right.
So obviously, if you want to drop another link to this repository is all available. So anybody who wants to go and check it out and go through anything we've done is more than welcome to do so. You can, each piece was split out. So for the bot, and I think this started because of my clunkiness with getting the bot started up. Actually, before I finish that one, I really do want to do docker ps -a, so you can see the 2 sites are up and running there. I'll bring them down afterwards. But this started because to get my bot to begin, this is where this came from, I believe. I have a batch file where I run the pieces, right?
Yep.
And I think you commented this can be composed rather than being so primitive, right?
Right.
And
you can...
so I literally have a batch file that combines the pieces necessary to do it. So I run the MongoDB. So what this is doing is maintaining the data. So I have an alias for Mongo data, which is off in a directory. And then when I bring it down and bring it up, I don't lose that data in between runs. And I have to create the network, and this is the naming, right? So I create a bot network, and I then have a Docker Compose file for the actual bot.
Yep. And that's what's nice. If you create like a global network, you can connect those to multiple Compose files, and then they'll just connect up to it. But you also can just say, well, if everything's on the same Compose, they're all going to talk to each other.
Yeah.
So then you don't have to worry about having a network up and running. Right. You just need to know that they're all on the same Docker Compose.
Yeah. So this is erroring because my bot's already up and running.
Yep.
Which is a downside. It automatically tries to build when I come in. So what I did in this one was, so when I first started, I tried to get the Docker file method working, right? So the bot has a Docker file and the management UI has a Docker file. And no matter what I did, I couldn't figure out these steps, right? This drove me crazy. And that's why I was asking the questions about the workdir and the copy stuff before. It was driving me nuts. So eventually, I know that people on the stream have mentioned the compose piece before. So instead of doing, so I'd been adding Docker file support. Instead of doing that, I added Docker Compose, I think from here somewhere, right? So by doing that, it created the compose file for me, created the Docker files, and the Docker file it generates when it does a compose is different than the one it does if you just right click and say add Docker. Which confused me.
Compose. Yeah.
So the way I'd set this up was I have the bot and the management UI as services, and then I set that I have to have this network. That isn't creating the network, I don't believe. I think that just...
That will create the network.
It will create it? Okay.
Yep. If it doesn't already exist, it'll create it.
Right. so obviously the piece missing from this is the Mongo piece. So Mongo has to be up. And I say that Mongo has, well, I'm saying external links there. I'm not saying depends on, right? So what I should be saying there is depends.
Yep. And then you'd have to have Mongo in here. Yeah.
Right. Is it depends on like that? Yeah. So I actually want depends on Mongo, right?
Yeah.
Technically they don't, the bot and the service don't, they both rely on Mongo. They don't rely on each other technically. I know
they kind of just wanted to dictate the order they start in.
Yeah.
That's kind of. But yeah, the external links, that's not needed unless you wanted to talk between the two. Then you would want them on links.
So the funny thing is the management UI talks to Mongo. And
so what this is doing is it's externally linking to a container named Mongo.
Yeah.
And putting it into this bot so then you can talk to it on the network.
Yeah.
And that's what the external links does. But yeah,
right.
like you've seen, you can put everything into the same file, and then you don't have to do these external links and then make sure everything's up.
Yeah.
You just have to do Docker compose up, and then everything will come up and work.
Yeah. So where I struggled with was, I'm not gonna say this for right this second because I don't want to completely break the bot.
Yeah.
That's time for an experimentation.
Yeah, it's setting up how do you turn a run command into a Docker compose?
Yes, basically, because obviously my run command is a little bit more complicated, and I couldn't figure out how to get all these pieces to sit inside of a compose file.
Yep. And what's funny is that's not super complicated. That's actually relatively easy to do.
Yeah.
If you want to do it really quick, we can. I got time.
Yeah, if you'd be okay with that.
Yeah. So when I'm doing stuff like that, I'll grab the whole Docker command. So the Docker run Mongo.
Yep.
I'll just grab that, copy it, and then paste it and comment it out of where I'm going to put it.
What's the comment in this? The only thing.
Yep. Anywhere. It was hashbang.
Yeah. Hashbang like that.
I don't know what it is. Just hit the shortcut key there.
It looks green. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
this is YAML.
So there we go. So yeah, this is relatively straightforward. The name is Mongo, so that's the service name.
Okay.
And then it'd be colon, and then it's volumes. So I think if you still have the older project in there, because I think you'll just put it in quotes. Is what it is, but it's like the old project, the other project we have, the Docker compose, because I think I have a volume in there for the.
Okay, we'll open that one up. Pearl. For people who love regex. Okay. So because you've written this manually, it's done it this way. In mine, I actually added Docker Compose as a thing. So actually I can start Docker Compose up here. And it will start this.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you add Docker Compose through the tooling, it will actually give you a target to run as Docker Compose, and it will start this up. And I've debugged using this, but I don't know how because everything's set to production. So that's why. That's for another stream.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just volumes, and then you'll have two volumes in here. You'll have the Mongo data, which.
Okay.
Where is that? So you can just grab the 9 and 10 and then put that in there, so we have a template to work off of.
Yeah. So we do volumes, and then that is actually so what I ended up doing, because Docker seemed to get very confused with I don't know if it's a Windows problem. It could be very well. So that is a named volume of some form, I think. So I actually ended up aliasing it as Mongo data. And off the top of my head, I can't figure out how to get what that is back.
Can't you just LS it?
It's an alias in Mongo or some form.
Oh, in Mongo.
Yeah. Not Mongo, in Docker, sorry. I just read the word Docker. Mongo at the same time. So it's an actual, the actual path is somewhere like dev. Gotta remember. Project streambot. It's somewhere around here. 2d.bot or something like that. It's somewhere around here. And
you set up a volume already, and then that's the alias for the volume. Oh, okay. So you just set up a Docker volume with the alias of that.
Yeah, because if I gave it a path like I thought I should be able to, it didn't work because it wasn't. Yeah, so I don't know how to get back what that alias path was. But it's then storing the database in that directory. That's why that's set up that way. So that when I bring the volume down, or the container down, I don't lose the data that's in it, right? That's the goal.
Yep. And that's what a volume is. It's just a folder on your host machine that you put in.
Oh, Docker volume ls.
Yep.
Volume.
That gives you the name and the driver.
ls.
And it should give you the details, right?
Mongo data.
That's the name of it. So if we do inspect and then the name, so Docker volume inspect and then Mongo data.
There you go. No. Not helpful.
So that's the mount.
Maybe that's.
Yeah, that would be somewhere.
That is.
Are you sure that's not it? That seems right.
It could be because I might have created the alias and then
moved it.
Yeah, because I restored the data. That's why the restore directory is mapped. Yes, that's why. So again, this is me getting myself into enough trouble to be dangerous, right? I've done enough to make it really confusing to anybody who knows what they're doing with it, and technically all I should need is this because that's the database. This is so that I can actually recover the data when I screw it up, and I have exported the data before I brought it off the other machine. So this directory streambot, this is the actual data from the other machine. So I exported it and then I used that recovery drive, that recovery mapping. So yeah, I think I tried to map a directory and it just didn't like what I was doing there. So when I did it this way, it worked fine. So the database files are stored on the local machine. So wherever wherever Docker puts this in reality on Windows. So I assume Docker kind of aliases away Windows and makes it look like Linux to itself. Right. Makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, I have no clue where it's at though.
Right. Okay.
But
so
you should be able to.
So I should be able to use Mongo data. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. You should just everything's the same. It's just we're turning it into Docker Compose.
Okay. So that's Mongo data.
You can pretty much just copy and paste exactly.
And then that's just /data/db, and that's where Mongo gets installed. Okay. And technically, I only need this volume for the sake of it's not like that, is it? That might be why. This is why I like Docker on Linux, less to learn. Yeah, Windows does definitely give you. I've learned that it does give me some curveballs that I really don't want to deal with, but I got to do something with that, I assume. But
all right, and
then this has the network and the port,
which
is just network, right?
Yep, and then you can grab the port if you wanted to as well. And then we'll need the image. So that's the tag we'll need as well.
So network becomes bot network. And then is it just port?
And then it is.
Hold on.
Ports. Sure it's just ports.
Yeah, ports, plural. And then we do 27017 to 27017. And that's it. Oh, that's in quotes. Because, why not? Does that mean... Yeah. Same with 12.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter if they're in quotes or not. Yeah.
Right. Are you thinking that viable? Is that what you're talking about?
The network needs a dash.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. If you put it in quotes, it should be a little more safe. But the network, I think that's how networks work. Let me double check on mine. I have a network.
The challenge is I can't actually run this because otherwise I screw up the stream bot. But I can definitely test it off stream. So with the ports, with certain port numbers, a YML interprets it in another base. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you need the network because it should already be connected. They should all be connected, so you don't need the network anymore.
Gotcha.
You could probably remove your other network as well, because they'll all be started up in the same Docker Compose, so it should link them. So as long as we make sure.
So now I just need the image.
Yep.
From which this is going to run. And then how am I going to get that image? That image is...
should just be at the very end of that Docker command.
Image in Mongo.
There you go. Mongo latest. Or just Mongo is fine as well.
Yeah, Mongo. So that's... So double quotes, single quotes don't matter?
Nah, it doesn't matter. The only ones there's only like a few it matters on based on what kind of syntax they need.
So that's so I can keep it on a certain version, whereas this I can just now use whatever version's available when I do it.
Yeah, well that will always use the latest version.
Yeah.
You can tie it to a specific. So if you don't include : whatever, it just assumes latest and always pulls down latest. So
where I got stuck,
spaces and tabs.
So
it's getting confused. But luckily, it's pretty lenient.
So in this instance, I'm building this. So I'm using the Docker file to build these images. To build these images to build the container. So the image that's built off of this is actually being dictated by what's in this Docker file.
Correct.
Right.
And then I think it'll tag it with those names as well.
Right.
So if those don't exist, then it can build. And I think that's what it does. So if those don't exist in the Docker Hub or whatever default registry you're using, it'll use the build context.
Right. Okay.
And do those builds work? Because
these work, yeah. This is the compose file I used to start the stream up.
Yeah. So it injects everything into the Docker build process. Okay, that makes sense. Never mind. I was overthinking it a little bit.
So then I would set these as a dependency rather than an external link, because they're all built in the same network. Now they all can talk to each other, right?
Yep, you can do depends on for all of them.
Yeah, so that depends. It depends underscore on, right?
Yeah, depends on, and that should be all you need.
And then
for those
I don't need the bot for that, and I don't need the bot management for that. They don't need to be.
If they don't need to talk to each other on a network, then you can remove the dependency from them.
Yeah, they talk to Mongo, so everything goes through Mongo in this instance.
Yeah, and as long as
the bot network.
So and they talk to Mongo using the.
That's the idea. They're all on the same little network because they weren't
through localhost or through.
They refer to it Mongo. They refer to it by name.
By Mongo. Okay.
Yeah.
So perfect. That's exactly what I was getting at. And I think that's it. And I think that would be updated. And so now you can just do a Docker up. I think you can also remove the network. Right. Because I don't think you need that anymore. It gets an implicit network for its compose file.
Right.
So.
Hey, Grumpy Game Dev. So you can just do that. Okay. Now this version, is this my version, or is this what is this? Is it a compose version, or?
That's the Docker Compose version. So you can go back to 2, and they have completely different syntax and keys and syntax. Yeah, but I don't think their compatibility is up to spec anymore. I think the newer versions of Docker Compose might just fail when it tries to run a 2. So 3.4 is current. I think mine is 3s.
Right.
Yeah, I just do 3. So that's just the Docker Compose version. Yeah. So.
Hey, Colby Sean. Good evening. Okay.
So if you'd run the Docker Compose up, I'm pretty sure it would run all of this in a self-contained container. So now you just turn your 3 commands into 1.
Well, yeah, that's the idea. That's why I'm trying to do it the way I'm doing it. Is tell you what, let's do, so it's on with the stream bot, right? So if I bring it down using the same command, right? So we should have, yeah, this is a challenge out.
Yeah, so what it might complain about now is that the new compose file kind of orphans some of the other stuff it had in there.
Hey,
so you might have to bring that stuff down.
Hey, Kativ. Yeah, right now we're focusing on Docker. My projects are all C# though, so hence C# in the name there. And I do more than just that. We're just going through this Docker tutorial part right this second. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free. Okay, so let me do this. I want to do Docker compose down on that as well. So they should disappear. It's being composed with something written in C#. Why didn't they shut down? Why did they not shut down? They're up, but they're not. Up.
Let's see.
Oh, the compose file's changed underneath it.
Yeah.
I've changed the compose file. That's why it's not working. Okay.
Yeah,
so I just need to Docker
manual.
Yeah. Stop.
RM F -F.
Yeah.
And these aren't compose either. Those are like run. You can tell by they don't have the long name annotation.
Right.
Or did you name these?
I named these.
Did you have them named before? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I named them before. Yeah.
Docker compose will give them a long, complicated name.
Yeah. Okay. So that one's PS -A. Yeah, I learned the art of naming early on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Kativ, this bot of mine is written in C#. I use Docker to host the bot when I start the stream, and I don't do a very good job of it. So I've been learning how to do a bit better job of it, or understand more about what I'm doing is the idea. Okay, stop bot management. Okay, now they're stopped. So now Docker RM will remove tb.bot. Docker RM bot management. So that's the goal, right? The goal is I should be not afraid to delete a container. And I might not want to remove the image. I shouldn't be afraid to remove a container. It should be, that's the beauty of it. I can bring them up and bring them down. Okay, so in theory, C# is the gateway drug to DevOps.
Yes.
Docker infrastructure with cattle. Okay. Okay, so that didn't Clang format. What?
You know what? It's YAML. Once you fix your tabs and spaces. To start.
No. Why is that?
Get service failed unexpectedly. Do we have like a typo in here? I think so.
Get service references. Oh, I don't understand that part. Let's see what Docker Compose Up does on that one. So basically right now what's happening is if I go into my Docker up, I'm running the Mongo container, and then I'm changing my directory to this directory, and then Docker Compose Up, right, and run it as daemon, however you pronounce. Should have used Tamil.
Matt Damon.
I'm not sure I like tabs as a completely delimiting thing. I that may become an unpopular opinion, but
I'll just stick with JSON.
Yeah.
My app settings are fine.
I have no issue. Okay, so we're going to Docker Compose up that. Okay, named volume is used in service Mongo, but no declaration was found in the volume section. Named volume Mongo data. Do I have to split this?
No, it's It doesn't like that. It doesn't know what the alias is. So because the alias was created in Docker, it can't use it. Right. So you'd have to create the full alias inside your Docker Compose, which I kind of assumed that's what it was. So if we can get the location that Docker put that in.
Right. So Docker volumes.
Either that, or we have to just say that this is an alias and use it. And I don't know how.
We can give it a different alias for now. I mean, I can re-import the data.
Yeah, you can just do that then.
Too much to me right now, but I'm learning.
A different alias. You can just give it a location, like your drive.
Okay.
And you can do.
Well, that was part of the problem.
You can do // too, so you can just use your local directory. But yeah, just put it somewhere.
Yeah, let's give it somewhere. Dev. Let's do you know what? I've got a nice empty drive here. I know if it does anything. F stream data. Okay, so if we put that there. Sorry. I'm going with capital letters there and lowercase in that one. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
And I think that might have been what was failing it before.
Right. So if we do Docker Compose up now, bot management cannot create service. Conflict the container name bot management is already used by container.
Bot management conflict.
Because the dev tools did it. So the challenge is when you have Docker Compose set here, it will actually it will compose them the moment you go in here. So if you clean the solution, it'll remove the containers. So it's already created it in the background for me. So the moment I saved it, it did everything it needs.
Yeah. I'll stick to my command line for my Docker stuff.
Yeah. Just going to read comments a second. Cattle is an actual Docker infra services that provides host to. How does care? This is too much to me right now, but I'm learning fast. Yeah, learn at your own pace. Have fun with it. That's the key. But I want to go back end rather than front end, so that's why I started C#. C# is a fine language, and it can actually be used to do both right now. Don't you have another section like services, but for volumes? I don't know.
Don't watch my streams. They blur the line between what C# should do.
Yeah. Yep. Grumpy, if you want to drop any links to your podcast or anything like that, feel free. If anyone wants to drop any helpful links, as always, feel free. So if we do Docker Compose up now, it should create all three. And I know I didn't run it like that, but the bot should connect to real bot Mongo 1 exited. Yeah, okay. So Mongo's not starting. It installed data there, so it did something.
So if we look at the logs for Mongo,
Docker logs, real bot. Why didn't it name it Mongo? Why didn't it name it Mongo?
Because you have container name inside your services, and that gives it an explicit name. So you just have to add real name Mongo to it, and then it'll name it that instead of the Docker Compose file Mongo, and then what instance it is.
Okay.
You used to be able to set how many instances you wanted it to create.
Okay.
Docker Compose. I don't think they do that anymore.
Okay. So do I do that? Container name Mongo.
Yep. And then you would have named it.
Yeah. Fatal assertion terminating operation not permitted. Yeah, I think I got this last time. Yeah.
Feels Docker like the directories are automac. But I don't use Mongo, so I don't know.
Yeah, Docker RM Mongo. Docker Compose up. -D. We'll know if it works because in the stream it'll it'll actually say tbd.bot is listening.
Yeah,
Docker logs. I think this is the problem I had last time. Once I give it the alias, it worked fine, but until I gave it the alias, it was like, nope, not doing it. Yeah, it is the exact same problem I had last time. Wired Tiger did not like being installed in a directory that I specified. If I let it go, it was fine. No issues.
Is it what it's probably doing is it doesn't like that it's talking to a Windows machine from a Linux, and that's the problem. And so when you do the volume inside the Docker container, it's using Docker's
Docker obscures
Linux.
that. Yes.
It's Linux.
Yeah.
A Linux volume on your Docker host and not a volume on the image.
Which is why WSL2... Oh, no, hold on. The bot just woke up. It's not working. Yeah, it did. It woke up without a database. Because, again, it doesn't really have a dependency. It's just it's nice to have because it can't access anything.
Well, okay, let's do a quick search for Docker volume alias.
Yeah.
Docker compose.
The worst that happens is I revert this and just go back to my old bad method right now, but that's fine.
Yeah, but the problem is if you ever restart your Docker, like it has to rebuild the Docker image, you'll probably lose the content.
Yeah. Well, that's why I backed up the Mongo content before, because the only thing that really matters, so the key for the key file for the bot to start up and use the client ID is stored on the machine in a different directory that this knows about. And yeah, so the data is not really a big worry. There's not that much in there, just as the shout outs and stuff. But yeah, it'd be nice to figure out, because then we can just do it.
Pop an image in, or a link, and then there is a section which I couldn't link to called 2.2 Docker internal name volumes.
Okay, select that.
So that's going to have details about how to set a Docker image, and then we can just give it a name.
Okay,
so what this does...
2.2 Docker external name volumes.
Yep, so these are pointing... So we'll just put volume name. So if we go back up, too far.
Okay. Oh.
Might be a little bit behind, but it's the one that has volumes, web_data, name, $, bracket, volume, ID
2.2, you said, right?
Yep.
Yeah, section 2.2. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on 2.2.
Did I say 2.2? No, 2.1, sorry.
2.1. There we go. Yeah. Okay.
I guess external true would also maybe do it, but this... so you're giving it the volumes, and then you're giving it the names, which would be our Mongo, and then we give it the ID, which would be Mongo. So if we don't do that, I'm pretty sure it's going to create a new one specific for our Docker Compose. Okay, but if we give it the name, yeah.
So if we bring this down so nothing is locked, Korean to port. Come on, bot. Go to sleep. Okay. Like a PS-A, yep, everything's clean. So now if we go back here to the bot, so we define above services. Yeah.
I think above or below is fine, but yeah.
Volumes. Was it Fireball that mentioned this before? Someone mentioned we could create volumes somewhere. And then we do... so this would be Mongo data? Or Mongo data?
Yep, the one that you used in your...
Yeah, and then I don't need to specify a path? It just declares it?
No, you want a name, and then you want to give it Mongo data, so it points to an external one, and that's the one that you already have set up.
Oh, okay. So Mongo data, and then name. Again, I'm not reading the manual.
And so you can also use environment variables in here as well.
Right.
So that's what that one's doing, is reading the .env.
Yeah.
But you can also use Windows as well. You could use path and stuff like that.
So now I can do that again.
Yep, and now that I'm pretty sure that will start up the database correctly, because now it will use that internal volume.
Okay, Docker compose up. Nope, cannot create container for service. The container name is already in use, because when I saved it behind, what happened is it created it.
Visual Studio.
Yeah, but it did work.
Oh, so it did.
Docker
do what we
logs
wanted to do.
Mongo. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Not working as well as I've hoped, but it should be.
Yeah, because your old one would give you probably time for the Mongo to start up, and then
Yeah, so we should see the bot connect eventually, but basically if I look at, what's it called? Oh, that's one of the things I realized. I keep downloading tools to talk to Docker, to Mongo, and there's a perfectly good Visual Studio Code plugin.
What doesn't Visual Studio have?
I know, it's awesome, right? Okay, so there's it's not really good at displaying them, but there you go. So these are the shout outs, but the bot didn't start, which is a concerning part for me. So I wonder if there's an ordering there that's not occurring.
So if you
Docker logs, tbd.bot. Oh no, they're not. Hey, it says they're all up, but it's no logs. Docker logs tbd.bot. Okay, we just didn't do anything. Docker compose down.
Yeah,
I don't know, right?
They like started up, but didn't start up.
That's the dev versions again. That's why.
Oh,
Docker. So if I go back here again, okay. So what we're learning there is an annoying feature in Visual Studio that if you have a Docker compose through their tooling, it will actually keep starting the containers up for you on your local machine and annoy you. There we go. That was better. Docker compose up. The bot's listening. And just to prove, so this is why Docker's used here. So the management UI has shout outs. So these are the shout outs that will happen. So yep, when you speak, you get the shout out. The trivia commands. One day we'll actually do something with that. It's definitely recovered the data because I put the tonight command in there earlier on, which would have probably been useful to actually explain before. So basically this is how the bot and the management UI talk to each other. They just put a record in the MongoDB, and the bot keeps polling this record and checks for the status of them, and if it says there's changes, it says okay, I'll reload that data.
So it's a poor man's queue.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need a poor man's queue. I'm writing a bot for a stream, you know.
I think every system, enterprise system has a poor man's queue.
So if we want to over-engineer that one day, we can do. But for right now, it's
put it in Redis. No, let's backplane it in SignalR with Azure.
Yeah, there we go. It'll scale to the 8 or 9 people that often visit the stream just fine.
We'll be responsive.
Really responsive. So, okay.
There you go. Now you're migrated up to Docker Compose everything.
There we go. So now, basically, my commands become
a single command, right?
Me just faffing around here a bit. So now these batch files, which I ever saw, if you run, so this becomes edit, and that does that. Right, just navigate to the directory where the compose file is and bring it up. And that becomes, stop the bot. We might as well have a comment in there just for old time's sake. And then that goes away. And there we go. So now we're fully, I mean, I know I'm running a batch file, but that's unavoidable unless I go in to here every time. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have what are they? Global Visual Studio tasks. So I open
Right.
up Visual Studio and I run a global command to start up my Docker stuff,
Yeah.
which is really cool because it does the same thing, except it's just in VS Code land.
Now, so obviously one thing that would be kind of nice to do, obviously not now, but if I could run my bot in Azure or AWS or whatever, what would it take to move this beyond the machine now and run this as a bot running in say Azure?
After looking at this, all you need is a Mongo database up in Azure,
Right.
and then you can just deploy these as containers. So you just put them in you could throw them in Docker Hub,
Right.
just fine. And then, so how does it get its configuration settings? Is it
Well,
just a app settings, or
um,
is it kind of just all magically connected through Mongo?
mm, there's a little bit of trickery. Actually, this one runs in development mode, by the way. So, um, talking about that. So basically, the app settings. How do I do this? I have a file somewhere. The only configuration it really pulls, so the app settings do go in there, but the secrets file, the way this works, this is what I'd have to change because the client ID comes from the secrets.
Oh, okay. You don't. So your user secrets only really work on your local machine.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you open up your app settings, you would just in your deployment area, so your app service in Azure, you would just go into your app settings and do like Twitch : off,
True.
and then put that there, Twitch : fresh, and
Yeah.
then
Actually.
every time the image would change, it would just update.
Yeah.
What's really nice is I didn't notice that I put my identity server up in Azure, and I found it this morning.
Right.
And I was looking at it, and I was like, "How does this work?" It uses my Docker image that I have in the registry. So every time someone goes to it, it'll actually ping the registry and pull the latest and pull it down.
Right.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool!" I don't remember doing that or getting up and working, but it works just fine. And I'm like, I don't remember doing this, but you just pointed at a image in a registry anywhere, any registry that's public, or if your Azure has a registry,
right,
it automatically connects them behind the scenes, which is great. So, because I have my own Docker registry that I have available.
Yeah.
And it was in the app service, if you're using a container, we'll just ping that whenever it needs to. So,
nice.
So just putting these up in Azure, and if you just wanted to do it locally, you would just, or not Azure, sorry. If you wanted to put them up into like the Docker Hub, you just go create an account, log into it with Docker login.
Yeah.
And then you could push up stuff up into your registry.
Right.
And then you could go to Azure and then point to that image. And then whenever you would update like the latest, or if you want to go specific versions, you could do that as well.
Right.
And so then your app service would just ping that every now and again and update. And I think you can schedule it to check. And then your Mongo database would just be a configuration setting.
Right.
An app settings configuration setting.
Yeah.
And then then those would just all hook up.
Yeah. I mean,
and then it would always be on. It would never shut off. So you'd have to worry about like making sure anything that's like time based or stream based would need to be like a reset or something. So.
Yeah. I mean, obviously having it on the dev machine isn't too bad. You know, it's not like I'm going to do anything really intensive on the dev machine. Having it off the machine entirely would at least allow me to keep the bot up and running while, say, I restarted the machine or it blue screened itself. There's definite benefits to having the bot hosted outside of the machine. But maybe that's a good conversation for another day where we can go and do a little bit more advanced stuff. The bot is a prime candidate because we've already got some exposure to doing some of that stuff. So the bot I've always intended to be able to be used upon multiple streams. So it's always been designed to run that way.
That's good.
So a different container hosting.
Yeah, and using Azure, it's not that hard.
No, Azure's not proved very difficult. That's a good sign. Yeah, that'd be nice. If we could get sponsorship from Azure, we'd be able to do so much more tinkering.
Oh, that would be fun. If I even with a $50 credit, you can do quite a lot of little things.
Yeah, I mean the app currently, I'm still running on one level above what I probably need to do for the mobile app, and that's now down to $30 after I made the change to put the images into the storage account. So now the storage is costing me 20 cents this month. And I haven't used a lot. I still need to do some updates and get the app up and running again on the phone because I've got, again, another pile of games beside me. Another 12 games sat here waiting to be scanned. So I probably need to be better at that. But cool, we can do way more with this now. But thank you for walking me through that. That has allowed me to understand a lot more about what I was doing.
Yeah, and it simplifies a lot of stuff too. Like you can see, it simplified a bunch of that like handwritten scripts to one command.
Yeah, is the part where I was struggling to get past the well, I don't own this image, so how do I do that? And it's basically I just don't tell it how to build it.
Right.
That's the difference. I'm saying I can use the image. I just don't need to tell you how I build it because I'm not going to be responsible for that part. So this, when I run this, if I didn't have this image, it would. So now if I change machines again, apart from the data being lost, which is recoverable, it would actually allow me to just bring it up, install all the right pieces, and have it running pretty quickly.
Right. It's all committed too. So
cool. Okay. Well.
And there you go. There is the power of Docker in an actual scenario too.
Yeah. Well, any questions in chat? Any comments or thoughts before I let Mr. Anhorn get on the rest of his evening? Gotta give that time. I'm not finishing the stream yet. I'm just
cutting me loose.
Unless you just want to hang out and sit there, that's your choice. But
well, I'd probably be doing the same thing. I'll just be behind the chat instead of in Discord.
Yeah. So it's strange having someone in the chat.
Someone in the chat that's also in the chat.
Yeah. We're not finished with the stream yet, Doctor. We're just waiting we're just seeing if there's any questions or comments. We'll Mr. Anhorn's on the actual. Well, the bot restarted. But there you go. You get a shout out. You just need to stream more frequently, right? That's everyone's problem. Stream more frequently. So
I don't want to. I'm maxed out.
Yeah, you're doing good. You're 3 times a week, right? So, yeah.
Well, I ran out of stuff to stream, so now I have to go take the weekend and figure out what I'm going to work on next. So be prepared for next Monday. It's going to be probably a new topic. I might jump into something completely new. So
write a bot.
Maybe. I was thinking of refresh. I've been playing with my platform, so we might take the first day and go over the stream platform so you can see how to create a Blazor application that works in a web view desktop application. So be on the lookout. Maybe I'll go over that over next week.
Cool.
While I plan out the whole next couple months of my stream.
Nice.
So
cool.